All right, kids, here we are. Here we go. It is 12:04. May I be the first to say a good afternoon. Happy to be with you on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. It is Tuesday, January 30, 2024. 30 days have September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31, except for stupid February, and it's leap year this year. So that means that we've got one more day to go in the month. I have to do that every time. It is episode 501. Thank you. I want to start off the day with the pleasantries by saying welcome to the show. We've lots to do. Your participation is not only desired, it is advisable. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWT. Please give us a shout. You can join us on the super text line. You can also join us on the phone lines at any point during the proceedings. It's me and you today until 3 o'clock. We hand off to Brian Wilson at that time. Bell K's behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as humanly possible. Before you know it, after his lengthy lunch hiatus, Mac Morey will be back in the newsroom. I love the fact that, by the way, I love it. Did you love it? I don't know if you were listening to it earlier, by the way, Bell K.
What?
I loved it. Ken Weaver was under the weather yesterday.
Yeah.
And so Chris Hand had to deal with ABC News one day. One day, and they're complaining. One day when they had to deal with ABC News. And he's...
And we do
this is awful.
Every day.
And every day, we have to overcome the stupid ABC News. We'll tell you what they won't. We'll tell you when they're wrong. It's all good. I don't blame them.
Wish we could tell them when they're going away.
You do every day. I mean, you have to explain that almost on a daily basis.
I do a good bit, yes.
Yes, ma'am. We understand. This is my impersonation of Bell. No. We understand. No, we don't like it either. No, yes. Well, it's a corporate contract. Yes. No, we would like to make it go away too. Yes, we would like to blow it up. No, I don't understand why they do it. Thank you.
No, that is not a threat of violence. Please don't call the FBI.
Anyway, but we'll make through until we get to Mac Morey and his newscast coming up right around 2 o'clock or thereabouts. I just want to spend a second before we tell you what the title of today's show is. Thanking you so much for all of your kind words. A lot of you, when round numbers follow big numbers, and 500 is a pretty big number, you commemorate. And yesterday was our 500th show together since I started in December of 2021. And I just can't thank you enough.
December 13th.
December 13th. That's right. You've been so kind to me. You've been kind to Bell and myself. It's been great to get to know and develop a working relationship with Bell and to develop a friendship and a partnership with all of you. I consider you one big, long, huge, enormous, extended family, which means that we agree on a lot of things. We disagree on some things, much like family. And we talk it out on a daily basis from noon until 3. Thank you for all of your kind words and well wishes, and for some of the mean words. I got some mean words today. I heard this earlier this morning. Dan Mandis was lamenting over some of the mean tweets and some of the mean emails that we get, and I received one of those same emails from the same person he was talking about on Nashville's Morning News, if you happen to be listening. And I thought I would share it with you at the beginning of the show. I will also share with you at some point during the proceedings the latest email from jail, which I think we should start a segment and call the segment Emails from Jail, and we need some sort of music for the segment. So I would encourage that if that is at all possible. And my laptop computer is broken. So we got that going for us, which is nice.
Is it the computer or the connection?
No, it's me.
Oh.
It's me. I fixed it. So, all right, let's do this first. Lots to get into. Lots of ways to listen to the radio show. You can do so online, obviously. Take us wherever you go, on your smartphone, on your laptop, on your tablet, wherever you are. You can take us with you, put us in the earbuds, and off you go. Just download us wherever you stream information or music. Type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN, and there we are. You can also download our individual app, which I would encourage you to do. It's Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Just go to your app store, write that in there, and you'll get it. You can also watch the television proceedings, and you can pick on me for wearing yet another Marty McFly life vest type piece of apparel. do so on Super Talk Television, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. We are up and running. It's episode 501. Headless Bell titles all of the episodes, despite the fact that he refuses to be on any of them. And today's title is?
Matt Murphy Show. It ain't just the meat that's impossible. Libertarian lunch, noon to 3. Vegan crap.
So I was at
that title was nothing but a setup for you to tell a story.
I was at a client meeting today, and we went to a particular business establishment, which would currently be getting a plug if they spend a little money on the show. But because they don't spend any money on the show, I will just tell you that they've got a bunch of rocking chairs and some checkerboards outside of the establishment. And you know where I'm talking about. So I've not had breakfast out recently. I'm trying to eliminate, well, I wanted to have just eggs, but then something caught my attention on the menu. One of the individuals that I was sitting with has a food allergy, and I won't go into more than that, but suffice it to say that he cannot have pork. And so he asked if there were any pork alternatives, and the woman said that there was a spicy chicken sausage, which interested me, and then she mentioned the Impossible sausage. And so I looked on the menu, and I saw that there was Impossible sausage, and I said, sure, I'll give that a go because, you know, I'm that kind of guy. I'll try most anything. I'm a complete open book when it comes to food, except the most exotic of things. I'm not in the business. I'm not going to eat stomach. I'm not going to eat hooves.
Eat the bugs.
I'm not going to eat crickets, and I'm not going to eat eyeballs. But most any type of food I'm in. I don't know that I could tell you what my favorite food was. But I also don't know that I could tell you a food that I would not try unless it's one of those weirdo, exotic. You know, once again, I'm not eating brains. I'm just not.
If you had Rocky Mountain oysters?
I had one in my 20s, but I didn't know what it was.
Did you even remotely like it?
It was chewy.
Yeah.
It was chewy. I would like to note that I could have made 2 jokes. No, I just thought of a third one. I could have made 3 jokes there regarding Rocky Mountain oysters and chewy, but I decided not to. You're welcome, Dan Mandis. It is the lunchtime hour after all. So I decided to try it, and I told someone that I decided to try it, okay, and he looked at me funny. Like, well, what's wrong with you? Do you have some sort of something going on with you? And I was like, no, I just wanted to try it. I tried a Burger King Impossible Burger when they came out. And some have suggested, and I don't want to name names here, Chris Hand, but some have suggested in relating this story that I might have done something wrong in all of this because, you know, all of the chemicals. Do I just say, do you eat meat at all? I mean, do you eat food at all? Because I promise you, there's a bunch of chemicals in those too. And Hand said he eats organic chicken. Well, I hope you raise it yourself. I don't know. I mean, I suppose that organic chicken, if we believe the man, I mean, and you know, you can choose to believe the man or not. I don't know what farm it's coming from. I don't know how organic it is. I know what a chicken used to look like 50 years ago. 60, well, not 50, 100 years ago. Have you ever seen a picture of a chicken from 100 years ago?
Yes. Have you ever seen a picture of a banana from 100 years ago?
They don't look the same.
At all.
They don't look the same.
Watermelon, same thing.
And I don't know what the hell they're putting in there, but it's affecting our children, I'll tell you that. I am convinced that growth hormone will be the death of the human race, but, you know, it's another story for another day. Anyway, I had Impossible sausage, and I'm not ashamed of it. And it was not, you know, it was like, the flavor was very sausage-like, and it was like they just overcooked it a little bit. So there you go.
Texture was okay?
Oh yeah, it was fine. But I'm not really a texture guy either. So there you go. I would recommend the spicy chicken sausage before I would recommend the Impossible sausage. So there you have it.
I would recommend the dirt before I would recommend the Impossible.
Oh, stop. You've had one, right? Didn't you say you've had one?
Yes, and you know, veganism is not human.
Veganism is not human.
Correct.
Okay. I mean, I think you need your protein. I think we are designed to be herbivores. Human beings are designed to be herbivores. No, wait, carnivores? What am I saying? Omnivores.
Omnivores.
We are designed to be omnivores, not herbivores, not carnivores. I think omnivores is what we're designed to be. And, yeah, I've had tofurkey. It sucks. 6890 wanted to know. So there you go. That's how my day has gone. I thought it was just fine. I'm just a little surprised that the place that I was at was going there. I would think that there would be one of the lastest. You know what? We're all going to hell in a handbasket when Waffle House decides to go. Maybe they have and I don't know about it. But when Waffle House goes impossible meat, that's a sign of the apocalypse.
I go to Waffle House on a regular basis, and I have never once seen anything that indicated they use artificial meat.
No, I don't think they would either. In the meantime, before I forget about it and before we get into more important matters, and we will, I promise you, we've got state General Assembly matters to get into. Obviously, Joe Biden is slow-walking us into a war with Iran. Mayorkas impeachment articles markup has gone underway. Congressman Mark Green is in the midst of all of that. Americans are dead, and there's a clown show at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. It's sad, but we'll get into those things as well. But this morning, I'm listening to Dan Mandis in the Dan Mandis Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis. Say it right, Murphy. And he mentioned this, and I thought it was funny because I just so happened to have a series of emails from the individual that Mandis was talking about. We were just discussing, we get a lot of love letters, and so many of you reached out during our 500th episode to wish us well and to thank us for, what we're able to provide from an entertainment standpoint from noon until 3 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And I appreciate every single one of you. But some do not appreciate what we do as much as others. Now, I get the occasional correspondence from jail. And once again, emails from jail is something that we're going to do down the road. But we also get this. We have one particular guy, Mandis mentioned him this morning, that hates us, absolutely hates us, and lets us know on the regular. And so this person, who is named James, wrote recently, you people don't want a controlled border. With a controlled border, you people would have to go back to openly hating black people. That would cost you your jobs. My response was, because I respond to him every time, because I ain't afraid of him. And he's a little crazy, but whatever. I can protect myself. My response was, you people, and that was it. He said, I'm sorry, I guess you prefer MAGA patriots. I'll stick with you people. To which I said, it's just me, James. I'm just me. I bet you'd love me in person. You should let me buy you dinner sometime. I could make your life a little happier. Because, you shower anger and hatred with love. At least that's what I do. James has written back and said yesterday at 5:19, hard pass. I'm super happy here. I try to avoid associating with people that seek to mislead ill-informed masses.
Wait a minute. This is a guy that's in jail telling you this?
No. This is not the jail guy. The jail guy.
Okay.
The jail guy's
I was
fine.
confused.
No, this is just an angry liberal that lives over in your neck of the woods. Because I know where James lives because I looked it up. Because James likes to vaguely threaten violence. He did so the other day when he was talking about I-40 and hoping that we all got hit by a truck or something on I-40.
There's something just delicious about hate listeners.
Oh, I know. I love it. I absolutely love it. No. I love it. And James is probably listening right now. And so he said, hard pass, super happy here. I try to avoid associating with people that seek to mislead the ill-informed masses. To which I responded, I'd figured you'd say that. It's a lot harder to hate people when you get together and break bread with them. And you seem to like hating people a lot. Good luck. I'm here for you, buddy. And James has just responded. Well, he responded at 4:53 a.m. Clearly, you don't understand. I view you as a traitor to our nation. a voice that would destroy democracy if allowed to continue with no opposition. You and those in your little group spread lies and anti-American propaganda daily. You have gotten really good at pushing racism without using the words that would get your arse fired. He used arse.
Well, do we know he's not British?
I don't know. I know where he lives. You openly promote a man that wants nothing but self-promotion. What? That doesn't.
Must be talking about a politician or something.
You actively exalt his great deeds, but continually fail to actually state what these great deeds are. I can think of 91 deeds you should discuss. On a more personal note, you are a master of turning yourself into a victim. If someone actually points out your traitorous actions, racist thinking, or intolerant ideas, you then turn that into you being attacked.
You're a master victimator?
I'm a master victimator. Which is, I mean, it's elevated, baby. You gotta work hard. You gotta stroke the system in order to. What? What did I say? Yep, I believe you and yours are a blight, an invasive disease that has sickened our city, writes James. This is by the way, I'm in the middle of it, but I don't mean to interrupt myself, but this is the nicest hate email I've gotten in a long time, and I appreciate you, James. So on a more personal note, you're a master of turning yourself into the victim. I suppose that's James' way of saying no, that he doesn't want to go to dinner with me. Those of us that are actually from here will continue to speak up. We will continue contacting your sponsors. My sponsors are doing really good. We will continue talking to others about your sponsors and offer more peace-loving options. So no, I won't break bread with you. Well, that's too bad.
Hey, if you're paying, I'll go in instead.
Well, no, you don't hate me. You try to pretend you do.
If it's going to give me a free meal, I will.
That's true. I'll hate you for free lunch. I'm going to crack this. I'm going to crack this nut, man. I'm going to crack this James guy if it kills me. I am going to get behind this veneer of anger and hatred. Nobody is this mad all the time, even me. And I know what type of reputation I have with regard to passion and anger. Nobody is that angry all of the time. You are invited to be a part of the communique by dialing us up at 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. You can also super text the show, 615-737-9986, or you can email me directly. There are plenty of ways to do that you can find on the 99.7 website, 997WTN.com, or Matt@murphyshow.com, Matt@murphyshow.com, which is the easiest and best way to get a hold of me. It's 1223 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Brink Fiddler controls and is the owner of Defend Systems. What is Defend Systems? It is a life safety and security consultation firm based right here in Middle Tennessee. Defend stands for something, and I've not mentioned this for a long time. Brink came up with this, and it really does galvanize exactly what he does for your workplace, for your place of business, for your school, for your church. Defend stands for deter, evade, fortify, evaluate, notify, and defend. That is Defend Systems, and each of those have subcategories that mean something as well. Brink will customize his training to your facility and to your staff. He will bring you active response, or active shooter response, I should say, workplace violence prevention, security improvement consultation, site surveys, emergency and intruder action plans, all customized to your facility and all to your specific need with regard to the training that he imparts to the individual staff members on your team. In other words, he's going to bring real world into the school, into the church, into your place of business to make sure that your folks understand that hope is not a plan and it is time to get trained. And it is time to get trained. Let's do it. Let's make a call to Brink and Defend Systems today. Go to defendsystems.com. I do not know if Brink has filled the public relations and market manager position that he had.
But I know as of last Thursday.
Okay, so there you go. So as of last Thursday, there's still a position open if you want to work for a solid team. I know Brink, Tracy, the rest of the group, they are incredible. Go out today at defendsystems.com or give them a call, 615-236-6484, 236-6484 for Defend. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief is located in Franklin, anywhere within the sound of my voice. If you're in pain for any reason, if it hurts in your joints, if it hurts on your shoulders, on your back, in your lower back, in your neck, on your elbows, your knees, your hips, wherever you move and it hurts, they can assist you at the Dr. Gill Center. They've been doing this for a long time. Dr. Gill began the practice with strictly chiropractic care, spinal in nature, but it very swiftly expanded to soft tissue. And now they have spinal decompression. They have the Class 5 laser system in place. They have the red light therapy in place as well, all designed to do pinpoint inflammation in the body, to reduce swelling, to accelerate healing, and to make you feel better, to make you pain-free, to do those things without the need for needles, without the need for pills, and certainly without the consideration for surgery. You owe this to yourself. I promise you, you can feel better. Thank you to the Dr. Gill Center. Give them a call and schedule an appointment today at 615-882-4838. 882-4838. Do what I did. I went, and I feel better as a result. So many people have had their pain alleviated, and you could be next in line with the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy show in progress. Brian says James is a keyboard commando. He would never meet up with anyone to have a face-to-face discussion. He would absolutely bleep himself without the keyboard to hide behind. I don't know. I know this, that I appreciate every single person that listens to this radio show. And I think we've lost the art of understanding. And far be it from me to say this because I always think I'm right. One of the nicest compliments I ever got, I got a hate listener calling me one day years ago and said, "You know what your problem is, Murphy?" "Oh, what's my problem?" "You always think you're right." Well, yeah. I mean, why would I?
Why would you say something?
Why would I say something that I think is wrong? I don't understand why anybody would do that. But
this next segment, I'll say things I don't believe.
I mean, right? I mean, and of course I think I'm right. And if you're of a different opinion, I want to help you because I don't want you to be foolish out there, saying things that are wrong. That said, one of the things that I love, one of the many, 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 many things that I love about the job that I do and about the country that I live in is that you have every right in the world to be wrong because we live in a free country that believes in free thought and freedom of expression as far as that goes. So you're welcome to be wrong. James is welcome to be wrong. And I love engaging people that are so angry at me for expressing a difference of opinion because once you get it down to where the goats can graze on it, that anger sheds away. If you meet someone and sit down with them and talk with them, it is very, very difficult to be so angry at them all of the time. And this concept that we need to recognize that others are allowed to have different perspectives and different points of view leads me directly into our opening conversation about what happened yesterday at the Tennessee General Assembly. Because a lot of what I would like to refer to as purity conservatives are having an absolute poop fit over this. What is this? Well, we had our first transgender person offer a prayer to open the General Assembly. And everybody's all mad about it. Except me. I don't give a rip. I will tell you why it's not the end of civilization as we know it. Coming up in just a moment. And I'll play you the clip from the opening of yesterday's General Assembly session with apparently an ordained pastor in good standing with the Nashville Church of Christ, whatever that is. That's coming up next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Wait, it's 12:32. It's time for this on Super Talk. Gentlemen, let's talk for a moment about something that affects at least half of the men that I'm speaking with as we age, as we mature. And it is bedroom inactivity. Now, that's all I'm going to say about that. You know what we're talking about, and you've heard the commercials. There's nothing to be ashamed about. There's nothing to deny. There's nothing to put off, and it's not something that you need to wait to get fixed. You know, most men, once they've noticed a decreased level of energy, once they've noticed a decreased level of a desire to go to the gym and continue to work in the yard, or like I say, sometimes this manifests itself in the bedroom as well. Guys put it off. I mean, we don't like going to the doctor, so we certainly aren't going to go to the doctor to talk about this, but I'm here to tell you that Tennessee Men's Clinic was created in 2014 to take care of guys and to overcome some of the shame in this game. So for a decade now, the urologists and providers at Tennessee Men's Clinic have done this all day, every day. They specialize in this. They know that weight loss, and they know that increased energy levels and a lack of grumpiness and tiredness can change your life. So many men come in after other things have failed them. They can help at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. I've seen the studies. I've seen the testimonials, and I know that it helps guys just like you who have these issues. So get your treatment, get your scheduled appointment going at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090. 9090 or go online to find out more at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Book an appointment today at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 12:37. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Libertarian Lunch. I am your friend and radio troublemaker. You know, Brian Wilson's your friend and radio buddy. I'm your friend and radio troublemaker. It's Matt Murphy and the Matt Murphy Show until 3 o'clock this afternoon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll talk about the Biden reaction to the dead American soldiers. 3 American soldiers have been killed, multiple wounded, multiple dozens wounded. And the Biden administration doesn't really have a lot to say about it. Oh, we'll respond in phases, they say. This was announced this morning. We'll respond in phases. We will slow walk ourselves into a war with Iran, a war that Joe Biden promised that he would never get us into. More on that coming up in a moment. Before I leave the airwaves, Bell, I like to remind you of these things while I'm thinking about them because otherwise I'll forget about them and I'll leave it on the table, and I don't want to leave this on the table.
Okay.
Remind me, Amelia Earhart, these are unrelated. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Mona Lisa Soup.
Right.
Amelia Earhart. And Snoop Dogg on Trump.
Okay.
Those are all 3 things I want to talk about at some point. And I'll let you pick the order.
Snoop. Big fan of Snoop.
I figured you'd say that. Apparently, Snoop's a pretty big fan of DJT. I like DJT on the down low. That's my Snoop impersonation. Thank you. Thank you. I'll be here all the week.
It's not terrible.
I'm telling you, I can do most anyone in a way that you'll go, oh, yeah, I see what you're doing there. But I only do one impersonation well, and that's Mark Levin. But you have to beg for that one.
You dope.
What did you say, my friend? What? Oh, what are you calling me a dope? Well, you're the dope. How about that? Bell from the great WTN. Go! Anyway,
That's brilliant.
so we'll do those stories later. So this happened yesterday, and some keyboard warriors on social media just absolutely lost their ever-loving minds. For those who don't know, I have received speaking of down low, I've received the scoop here as to how this goes down. This was yesterday on the floor of the Tennessee House of Representatives as they gavelled in for another session of the 113th General Assembly, something like that. Let's listen in.
And to do this today, thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
I've got you all the volume I can give you.
Baptized Congregationalist. I was raised Lutheran. I was confirmed Methodist and sang in.
By the way, this is Representative Afton Ben. Representative Afton Ben was a special election in the city of Nashville. Somebody died. I don't remember who it was. It was apparently a longtime Democrat, and I'm not trying to be disparaging of somebody dying. I just don't remember who it was. But they had a special appointment, and then there was a special election. And Afton Ben is apparently a community activist that ran for that post. And I am told she's a trust fund baby. I have no idea of knowing whether that's true or not. I'm not saying it's a bad deal or a good deal or whatever. I just am telling you what I've been told. I know everything I need to know about Representative Afton Ben by telling you how she spells her name. Representative Afton Ben spells her name Aftynbehn. 9 letters, 2 vowels. Well, sometimes Y. Afton Ben begins her remarks by offering her bona fides, her religious bona fides, which is always a red flag to me.
I'm so elated to be here and to do this today. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. So a little bit about me. I was baptized Congregationalist. I was raised Lutheran. I was confirmed Methodist and sang in church choir for basically my entire existence until college. My mom grew up a Jehovah's Witness, and my dad was raised as a Missouri Synod.
You know what a Missouri Synod is? I don't.
Although religion comes in all shapes and colors, I've always held the following close to my heart from Matthew 7:12. "And everything, do to others what you would have them do to you." So with that, I'd like to introduce my constituent and friend, Chaplain Darren Johnson of United Church of Christ. Darren works with a hospice serving Middle Tennessee, and throughout her career, she has advocated persistently for keeping the voices of patients and their communities of care central to their journey. It is my honor and privilege to introduce Chaplain Darren Johnson.
Darren Johnson is a transgender person, and Darren Johnson is apparently ordained through the United Church of Christ, which I am told is different from the regular old Church of Christ.
All that follows is a prayer. Perusing the items on the agenda today.
By the way, I'm not trying to be funny, but this is someone that wants to be taken as a female. I know that's.
She got a pretty deep voice.
I feel. I'm not even trying to be fun. I'm not even trying to be mean. I just feel compelled to tell you this, that this is a person that is presenting. This is a guy that has decided he wants to be a woman, and whatever. That's all well and good, but we're supposed to sit around and listen to this and act like this isn't happening, but it is happening.
Is a prayer. Perusing the items on the agenda today, I wondered what prayerful purchase one might grab onto. What to say that the resolutions honoring auctioneers, veterans, coaches, judges, citizen leaders don't already say whereas and well. However, as I read about their victories and challenges, their setbacks and ways of perseverance, it came to me. This is the work, isn't it?
Okay, do you understand anything that this person has said so far?
No, not really.
By the way, Darren spells his name Dahron. I bet that's not the way Mama and Daddy spelled it.
Be clear, I understand such work is not contained only in consent agenda resolutions. Many will never be recognized in this way. Yet all still have voices, have lives, each with their own inherent value. As you work to find ways for these many lives to speak, It is possible, maybe even inevitable, that they will not always blend harmoniously with each other. All will seem cacophony and chaos. Yet it may be so.
Darren was proud of that.
Our ears.
Yeah, Darren was proud of that one.
I'm reminded
Cacophony,
of the choral
chaos.
setting of the Genesis creation story. And when it comes
I'm a
to
little
the part
intimidated
where
that Darren's voice
God
is a little
said,
lower than mine.
"Let there be light," and there was. The composer tells each person to pick their own note and hold it as they sing the phrase.
Anyway, he's claiming that this is a prayer. It's really more of a speech. I'll get to the meat of it. He begins the prayer a little bit later on.
Their and of our divinely differing lives. Let us pray.
And here comes the prayer. Okay. Here's the
God
prayer.
of one and many, God of small, still voice and prophetic thunder, speak so that all might hear your voice. Speak through the work of those called to this house, and speak through the voices of all they are sent here to represent. In honoring those who have helped their communities, hear their voices. Hear our prayer. In working to offer shelter, food, health care, education for all who need these essentials, hear their voices and hear our prayer. In working to assure this state offers welcome, safety, and foundations from which we can all flourish, whoever, wherever, and however we are in the world, hear their voices and hear our prayer. In attending to each other, in attending to those who send us to this space, in attending to you, O God, we ask you help us release all that would keep us from hearing and giving voice to the lives of all affected by the work of this house and assembly. We ask all this. We thank you for all this. In your name. And let the people say, Amen.
Representative Bain will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, and then the Pledge of Allegiance gets repeated there, and that's the beginning of the 34th legislative day of the 113th General Assembly with Darren Johnson, who is a clergy person with the United Church of Christ. Now, why do I bring all of this up, and why do I play it for you? A lot of folks are angry about this. They're very angry because Darren is a transgender guy who was allowed to offer a prayer at the beginning of the legislative day. And I understand. I understand why, there's some out there calling it an abomination. There's some saying this is wrong or whatever, and it's a little weird. I admit that. But let's think 3 moves ahead, folks. Let's understand where all of this goes. If you're going to make, what most of the Republicans in the House were doing at the time that this was happening? They were in a caucus meeting that ran long. I am told by multiple members of the House of Representatives in the Republican caucus that while normally they are on the floor when the opening prayer is read, sadly, they had just so happened that they had a scheduled caucus meeting that morning, and it just so happened that their caucus meeting ran a little bit long, and I had it told to me that way by several different members in just that way. That as sad as it is, sometimes things run a little long and you're unable to be a part of some of the more perfunctory duties that open up a session of the Tennessee General Assembly. And this, it just so happened, was the case in yesterday's proceedings. Now, I understand why some of you want to clap back at some of this, because you would suggest that Representative Alton Ben or Afton Ben or whatever her name is making a bit of a mockery of the opening of a legislative session. What I would suggest is that to make more of this than it was is to open a door that you do not wish to walk through. And this was my takeaway on it. Now, I inquired last night as to how it is that someone is allowed to offer the opening prayer. How did this transgender person, how were they offered the opportunity to do this? Now, for what it's worth, and I should note, I mean, I don't know what the United Church of Christ is all about. I know that different denominations believe in different things, and I have no idea what this church is about whatsoever. But I don't know that outside of feeling the liberalism ooze from his voice, outside of some of these suggestive comments about, you need to take care of all of these and, and all of that sort of thing. Outside of that, I don't see anything wrong with the opening remarks or the opening prayer, in as much as he, there was some subtle inclusion of political points or political posturing. But frankly, that goes on with all of the pastors that go down there. What I bring up to you is this, that if we want to die on this hill, then you're not going to get the outcome that you want if you're a conservative or if you are a Christian. Because the outcome leads to no prayer. And that's what the Democrats want, I think. So Afton Ben, a newly appointed or a newly elected representative, took advantage of the policy on the part of the House of Representatives to allow a sitting member of the House one opportunity every session to nominate a constituent who is a member of the clergy. They have to be an ordained member of an organization, a tax-exempt, faith-based church. And apparently the United Church of Christ is that. So Afton Ben requested that this person offer the opening prayer. That request was, like every other request is, once it was established by the clerk that this was an ordained minister at a legit, quote-unquote, church, they allowed this person to speak. They are told to keep it brief, and they are told to not politic in the House floor. Those are the only rules. Yet some of my friends on the purity conservative side of things are suggesting that the Republicans in the House of Representatives and the Christian members of the House of Representatives did not do enough to keep what they described as an abomination off the floor of the House of Representatives. Here's what I would suggest. If you make this a 5-alarm fire, and if you decide that it's something that you want to fight back on, the Democrats will certainly take you up on that, and they will take you to court, and you will lose. You will lose. Because the government, understand something. When a government body or a government installation infuses religious worship into the body itself, they have to be all-inclusive of all different types of faiths here in the United States of America. Otherwise, they are going to get shut down, whether you like it or not. We, as a majority religion, do not get to dictate in the United States of America, nor should we be able to dictate in the United States of America, those religions that are worth government notice and those that are not. That is the very definition of government encroaching into the church, which was always the concern of the Founding Fathers, not the other way around. So I would just warn you, as disturbing as some of this is, not everything has to be a 5-alarm fire, and not everything has to be a fight. Yet, sadly, there are some spectator purity conservatives that want to make everything a fight because nobody else is good enough. Well, good luck with that. You're going to lose if that's where you're going. It's 12:53 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, folks, it's Matt Murphy, and I'm going to tell you about an exciting thing that I'm doing right now. You know, I tell you all the time about Dr. Stephen Poss and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center, and you can find out more information at drposs.com. And don't fear, I'll give you that website again at the end of this conversation. But here's what I'm doing right now, because I recognize that I snore a little bit, and I want to know if I'm getting maximum sleep. I want to know if I have sleep apnea. So tonight, I'm having my sleep apnea test. You do it right at home. I'm going through my paces. I saw Dr. Poss earlier in the week. We had a great conversation. He did some measurements. He looked at what's going on with my throat. We talked about my sleep habits and my sleep patterns, and I'm getting my test tonight to see if I'm a candidate for the incredible apparatus at the Dr. Poss Center. It is an exciting time because I want to make sure that I'm sleeping as well as I can, that I'm getting a restful night's sleep. 25% of adults have sleep apnea. Most are unaware of it, and I don't want to be in that number. So toward that end, I'm doing it. They include major medical with just about everything that they do. They're the only office that's in network with all major insurance companies like BCBS, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, and TRICARE for the military. 2 offices to serve you. One's in Brentwood, the other's in Murfreesboro. Dr. Poss has advanced training, and I'm going to get to tell you all about my adventure as I begin that with the Dr. Poss Center. drposs.com. That's drposs.com for more information. And do like I did. Call Dr. Poss and schedule your appointment today.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. A bipartisan group in the Senate continues to work with Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas on a spending package that includes more border security funding. At the same time, a GOP-led House committee is working to impeach Mayorkas over his handling of border security.
The final markup featured Republicans on the House Homeland Security Committee blasting Alejandro Mayorkas for what Chairman Mark Green calls a willful and systematic refusal to enforce immigration law that's fueled the fentanyl crisis.
If your refusal to obey the law leads to the death of your fellow Americans, you no longer deserve to keep your job.
But Democrats call the impeachment effort baseless and even constitutionally unsound for not meeting the high crimes and misdemeanors standard. A Senate trial is certain to end with an acquittal in a body that's controlled by Democrats. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Election board members in Illinois ruling to keep former President Trump's name on the state's primary ballot. That challenge centered on the 14th Amendment clause that bans people from running for office who have engaged in an insurrection. The Supreme Court hears arguments next week on rulings in other state cases. The White House says a U.S. response to the deadly drone attack on U.S. service members in Jordan could come at any time. The U.S. blames Iranian-backed militants for the strike at the base, killing 3 U.S. troops and injuring dozens of others. National Security spokesperson John Kirby aboard Air Force One today says the goal is to deter, not escalate.
It's very possible that what you'll see is a tiered approach here, not just a single action, but potentially multiple actions.
President Biden telling reporters he's decided how it will happen. He's in Florida today to attend fundraisers. Toyota warning 50,000 owners of certain model years of Corollas and RAV4s to stop driving those cars immediately. The company says over the ages of airbags that could release deadly shrapnel in an accident. You're listening to ABC News.
It is the Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN 106. Good afternoon. Thank you for being with us. Welcome in. Glad you have decided to join us for a few moments of the full 3 hours. We thank you. It's episode 501, and there are your pleasantries. 615-737-9986. If you'd like to be a part of the show, 615-737-9986. That's either via the telephone lines or via the super text line, and we've had an incredible response certainly on the super text line with regard to the conversation that we just had. I am welcome to have differences of opinion come in on this, but I'm telling you I'm right. What the effort was, for those who missed the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour, yesterday morning, a Democrat from Nashville named Afton Ben, a newly elected in a special election Democrat from Davidson County, had her opportunity to bring up a member of the quote-unquote clergy to offer the opening prayer. And in doing so, she brought up I assume an ordained. I mean, the only rules regarding participation in the opening prayer is that you have to be ordained in a church in good standing with the state of Tennessee, and I assume that means, nonprofit status and all of that. And in this case, it was the United Church of Christ, I believe that's right. And this so-called preacher was a man who wants to be a woman. And many Tennesseans saw that and said, what the hell's the world coming to? And I understand that. And I understand that you consider it to be ridiculous at least and an affront to your faith at worst. Here's what I would say, and I've said it. I said it in the first hour, and I'll repeat it now. Be careful giving this more credence than it deserves. Sandra writes in and says, Matt, was the right move to just not be there for the prayer. And I think it was. What the Democrats want, what I truly believe the Democrats want, they do not want any prayers starting the Tennessee General Assembly. Had they their way, there would be no prayer but to government. There would be no prayer to God. And right now, you have many Republican and Democrat representatives, faithful individuals, because I do believe you can be a Democrat and still be faithful. It's becoming a little less and less obvious, and the ones that I notice are fewer and further between. But that said, it can happen. And I think that there are a subset of Democrats that would love it if this was made into a big deal. What they wanted was Cameron Sexton to say no. What they wanted was the Speaker of the House or the majority in the body to say, no, we're not going to have this on the floor of the House of Representatives. Because as soon as that happens, they're going to file a lawsuit against you. As soon as that happens, they're going to shut down all prayer to begin the Tennessee General Assembly. And do we really want that? And so what happened yesterday morning was just so happened the Republicans were meeting in caucus, and the caucus meeting ran a little bit long, so most of the Republicans in the Tennessee General Assembly actually missed this. Here's what I would say, and most of us have lost this art, and I would include myself in that number for most things, but 8212 has written it exactly right. Sometimes it's okay to just ignore stuff. This is one of those times. Do not give this oxygen and move on. Treat it as the nuisance that it is, roll your eyes about it, and move on. To suggest that it's an abomination that should have never happened is to suggest that we need a new vetting process. And when you begin vetting various religions based on who they do and do not allow as a part of the clergy, you're going to get into arenas that you don't want to get into. I promise you that. And I promise you it will end in a place that you don't want it to end. That is, it will end with nobody saying a prayer before the Tennessee General Assembly. Now, Brian writes in with a different point of view, and he said it's a direct slap in the face to God and to those of us who believe. The assembly should be ashamed of themselves. Brian, what would you have the assembly to do? Our founding fathers created a country that does not believe that government runs religion. Frankly, our founding fathers understood, I think, better than some of us understand nowadays, not you, present company notwithstanding, that anything that government touches, government takes over. And do you really want government to take over your religion too? I don't think so. The separation of church and state that Thomas Jefferson wrote about was designed to protect the church, not the state. And there was never a suggestion that religion should not be incorporated in and a part of our daily lives. The suggestion was that we cannot treat groups of people differently through government based on their religious faith. So I would tell you that if you believe that this should have been stopped, I'm open to hearing how. You know, there was a time where we didn't like the idea of Judaism or Catholicism to be a part of our regular public life here in the state of Tennessee or in the state of Alabama or in my home state of Georgia.
It was a giant deal when Kennedy got elected because he was Catholic.
Because the belief was, and I wasn't around back then, and if you were, you can tell me if I'm wrong or am I right, but I've read the history of it, that the general belief was that he was answerable not to the Constitution of the United States. He was answerable to the Pope. And the concern was that you have a president of the United States that's doing his bidding through the Catholic Church and not through the Constitution of the United States. Let's see, 8523, a lot of reaction on the super text line. 8523 writes, Why would you want controversy by bringing a freak up to offend people's beliefs? The scary part of everything that is going on in society is that these godless scum get elected into office in the first place. I understand that there are people in Nashville, Tennessee that vote quite differently than I would. One of the greatest hopes of humanity is that we have people that are stupider than you and me that are allowed to vote in the United States of America. And I know if you don't really understand, I mean, that sentence can make no sense, but it is true. It is the greatest asset and failure that we have going that we don't have intelligence testing to vote. I wish that we did. I say that, but I don't know that I wish that we did. 5650 writes in and confirms what I have read. I'm 72 and my parents felt, yes, the Pope would run America. It did not happen. One of my favorites, JFK. JFK would absolutely be a Republican today. Now, he might be considered a squish, but he would definitely be a Republican. I mean, the guy cut taxes, for goodness sake. I've long said, and remember it, write it down, it's one of the best things I've ever said on this radio show, and I've been saying it for 20 years. As a result, today's Republicans are yesterday's Democrats. Today's Democrats are yesterday's socialists. I have no idea where the conservatives are. No idea. I agree 100% with you, writes 5331. I wish I could explain this specific subject the way you did on this segment. It's not that hard. Faith supersedes force. This is the way that I view the relationship between government and religion. Faith supersedes force. For the so many years that Roe v. Wade was the quote-unquote law of the land, I considered it an abomination of my religious faith. But that does not mean that I did not recognize it as the law of the land. I thought it was a shame. I thought it was a travesty. I thought it was an abomination based on my faith-based beliefs. And it does not necessarily mean that I agreed with it, nor did I abide by it. My faith superseded the force of the rule of law. Always has and always will. My faith is not affected by the force of government. Never has. And never will. 2565, just tuned in, missed the topic. Can you quickly summarize? Yesterday, every day a member of the House of Representatives can schedule a pastor to give the opening prayer before the General Assembly. And yesterday, the opening prayer was given by a transgendered person who claimed to be a pastor, and I assume is a pastor, at the United Church of Christ. And that has a lot of folks upset. And some are suggesting that Cameron Sexton and others should have done something to stop it. I am suggesting that if you get into the business of evaluating who is and is not an appropriate pastor to lead a prayer before the General Assembly, you're going to be deluged with lawsuits to the point that you'll never have a prayer again. You'll never have a prayer again. 5668 says, tell them to get on YouTube and rewind. Miss a moment and miss a lot of the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So that's what I have to say about that. If you have anything else to say about it, 615-737-9986. I do have quite a bit to say about where we are as a country with regard to the concept of getting us into a war. It was not that long ago, as a matter of fact, just several months ago, where the Biden administration was telling us that the Middle East was quieter today than it's been in the last 2 decades. And nowadays, we're being told by the same administration that the Middle East is more dangerous than it has been since the year of my birth, 1973. Oh, yeah, we have the receipts, and we'll share them with you in just a moment. But here's what I need from you. Rare is it that a situation comes up that I genuinely don't have an answer for. But on this, I do not have an answer. I used an analogy regarding poker yesterday with regard to how we have gotten into the position that we're in the Middle East. You see, the United States of America, we have a good hand. If you're familiar at all with poker, you understand that poker is a game of the cards that you get, and it's the game of how you present yourself to other players and how you figure out what the other guy is holding against what you are holding without letting him know what you've got. There's a good amount of bluffing and bravado, but there's also strength versus weakness in the game of poker. When it comes to Middle Eastern foreign affairs, all we did under the Biden administration for the first 2.5 years of said administration was demonstrate weakness and an inability to present a cogent mission statement with regard to what we want out of the Middle East and to present a position of strength when it comes to some of our enemies in that region, like Iran. As a matter of fact, we did things like remove the terrorist designation from the Houthis. We removed several of the financial embargoes against Iran and freed up billions of dollars for what is widely considered to be the largest state sponsor of terrorists around the globe ever in the history of history. Yet the Biden administration decided that we're going to give them money, because if we just act nice to them, they'll act nice to us. Not that that's ever happened in the history of ever with Middle Eastern radicals. But why not give it another go, Joe? Maybe you've got the secret sauce, although I seriously doubt it. So we presented weakness. We were dealt a hand when Joe Biden became president, and all he did was present that hand as a loser. And now we've been called on it by Iran, and I have no idea what they're holding. I have no idea how far they're willing to go, and neither does Joe. And Joe has no idea how to respond on this. And frankly, nor do I. I would normally tell you that you strike forcefully, you strike hard, you kill some people, and you explain to them that if you do this again, ever again, we're going to kill more people. And we're not going to kill just average Iranians. We're going to kill leadership. We don't want to kill leadership. If we have to kill leadership, we'll kill leadership. And that is not getting us into a forever war. It's ending one. But you have to have someone that has a certain level of bravado in order to accomplish that. You have to have someone that has some sense about them, that presents themselves in a way that makes some of these leaders in other parts of the world that don't like us very much scratch their head and say, wait a minute, maybe, just maybe, to use the poker analogy, maybe they're not bluffing. Maybe they're serious. Maybe they really, really will drop the bomb or whatever. They have to believe that you're willing to go there. Do any of us believe that Joe Biden's willing to go there? No, not poopy in his pants. You know what I mean. I don't know that the poopy in the pants is a matter of, now, come on, Mr. President. I don't think that the poopy in the pants is a matter of want to. I think it's a matter of can't help it, but poopy in the pants. I was told, I was asked yesterday if I am legally obligated to say the word poop every day of the 500 episodes of the show. And I was like, well, no, there's no legal obligation. I just want to do it. That's a joy. That's a delight.
Prevented from using a more descriptive term.
Well, that's true. And that leads us to the question, legit question, because I have no interest in a foreign entanglement, none. I think the state of Israel is doing just fine handling Gaza on their own. What America needs to be is a force of strength there to tell the other nations around that region of the world not to get involved in it. But they have to believe our bluff. We might be bluffing in as much as what we're willing to do, but they have to be willing to believe it in order for us to stop them from doing what they're currently doing. They have no fear of the United States of America right now because our commander-in-chief offers them no reason to have any fear. And this nonsense that came out this morning, oh, we're going to respond in phases. You know what that tells me? They're not going to respond at all. Oh, they'll throw some things down. They'll a drone strike here or there. What we need to do comes to me from the incredible 1980s feature film, The Untouchables. You send one of ours to the hospital. We send one of yours to the morgue. You pull out a knife. We pull out a gun. That's the Chicago way. Escalation. Forceful, fierce escalation. Shock and awe. Now, that does not necessarily mean that we entangle ourselves in some boots on the ground nonsense. We don't have to do that in order to send that message. However, this administration can't do that. They've been weak too long. We know how they play the game. We know that they're weak. We know that they're bluffing. So the question to you is, what do we do? And that's an open-ended question. 615-737-9986. I want to hear from you. What do you think America's response should be to the latest escalation of aggression in Iran that led to the death of 3 American soldiers? There are options. We could pull everybody out of that region and just let them have at it. We could double down and send troops over there and go after it, hammer and tongs, and try to take over Iran or whatever, or something in between. You tell me. 615-737-9986. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, the Matt Murphy Show continues. It's 1:29. Curious your thoughts about what to do now with regard to the Middle East, more specifically to the idea of Iran funding so many different third parties, the Houthis, Hezbollah, to include others, to attack the United States of America. And now that funding has led to the death of 3 service members and the maiming and wounding of dozens of others. In a very real way, I mean, the 3 service members that were killed in a drone attack directed by Iran, in a very real way, Joe Biden's administration funded all of this. It's not hyperbolic. It's true. Joe Biden's administration chose, I mean, much like the Obama administration chose to offer Iran pallets of cash, the Biden administration chose to remove oil sanctions against the Iranians that freed up hundreds of millions, really, actually billions of dollars. By the estimates that I've seen, somewhere in the neighborhood of $6 billion, and up it goes. So tell me how this wasn't used as a funding mechanism for what happened. Steve writes in, and it's duly noted, it's not soldiers, Matt, it's folks. Folks. You guys, of course, heard this nonsense coming out of our press secretary, I'm certain. If you did not hear it, this is just a couple of days ago demonstrating that if you think Joe Biden's bad, take away her folder and Karine Jean-Pierre is just as bad. What is in the water at the White House? Listen to this.
What I will say, our deepest condolences go out, and our heartfelt condolences go out to the families who lost three folks who.
What do you think she's trying not to say? It's pretty obvious that I've been doing this for a minute, and you can tell when someone is saying something and they're going to a certain place and their brain says, don't say that, say something different, and she had to try to figure out a different word. Do you think she did not want to say soldier? That was my first inclination, that Karine Jean-Pierre was so fearful to say the word soldier that she comes off sounding like an absolute blithering idiot.
What I will say, our deepest condolences go out, and our heartfelt condolences go out to the families who lost three folks who are military folks, who are brave, who are always fighting, who are fighting on behalf of this administration, of the American people.
Fighting on behalf of this administration. Then she tries to correct it. Fighting on behalf of this administration.
This administration, of the American people, obviously, more importantly, we lost those souls. What I will.
So she can't even bear to call them what they are, which were American soldiers. 3 American soldiers. I don't know. Some have suggested that Karine Jean-Pierre was petrified of identifying them by pronouns. Maybe that's the case. But yes, that's in reference to our good friend, I think it was Steve, who said, come on, Murph. Come on, Murph. These are folks, not soldiers. I think you're right, 4311. I think she did not want to say men. If you want to give her the extreme benefit of the doubt, perhaps she knew that one of the soldiers was a female, and so she didn't want to say men or women, and she decided, instead of saying soldiers, she decided to say folks. What are we going to do to honor these 3 brave souls and the others that were wounded based on this unfortunate drone strike? I mean, it's easy to say sheet of glass, but I don't know what you can do. I don't know what you do. I know I need to do this. George, we'll get to you in just a moment. We'll get all of your calls right after this. 615-737-9986. And that's not even the biggest story of the day. The biggest story of the day involves the southern border. And the idea that the Democrats are trying to play certain Republicans squishes all as Boo-Boo the Fool. We'll tell you all about that next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The world-famous Glock store is, well, there are a couple of things, depending on what your focus is right now. If you're looking for ammo or accessories, perhaps you're looking for a new handgun or long gun, they've got them in the retail side at the world-famous Glock store. And you can find a lot of that at glockstore.com. That's glockstore.com for shipping, for what they manufacture on a regular basis right here in Nashville at their facility on Airlane Drive. You can find all of that at glockstore.com. When it comes to their shooting rooms, not lanes, shooting rooms, when it comes to some of the training involved at the world-famous Glock store, they've got classroom space. They've got a lot of training space. Then go over to shoot270.com to find out more in that regard. And as a matter of fact, a space or two still available for the Sentinel class, which is an upper-level training course. It is a rigorous course all day on Saturday, February the 3rd. But if you want some advanced training in your life, you need to talk to the gang over at Glock Store about this world-famous Sentinel training. Go to shoot270.com to find out more. Just click the training button, shoot270.com to find out more information to make sure that there's still space available because it is limited. And do me a favor and stop by the Glock Store and tell them Matt Murphy sent you. The world-famous Glock Store on Airlane Drive just off of Elm Hill Pike. Go by and see them today. 139, before you do it, don't ask me. I don't know. I just work here. Many of you have asked, have questioned why in the world John Meacham and Liz Cheney are advertising. I don't know. It's their money. They can spend it any manner of their choosing. I have a difficult time understanding why. Well, let me just put it this way. I don't plan on going. I don't know what you do with your time, but I've got better things to do with mine. That's all I'll say to you. It's 139 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In the meantime, what to do about the Middle East? That's the big question. Sadly, I don't believe that there are a lot of good answers because of the ineffectiveness and the inability to make decisions on the part of those in charge at the White House. I mean, heck, they can't even figure out, they can't even tell you how dangerous the world is nowadays. Listen to these two clips, and I'll tell you the dates of them once you listen, because you'll think that these were years apart. They were not.
The Middle East region is quieter today than it has been in 2 decades.
I would argue that we've not seen a situation as dangerous as the one we're facing now across the region since at least 1973.
Okay, that's Jake Sullivan, who is Joe Biden's national security advisor, first, and Anthony Blinken, who is the feckless, ridiculously useless Secretary of State. These two comments were 3 months apart. One was in October of 2023, the other in January of 2024. It was October, and one would presume maybe before the attacks in Israel, that Jake Sullivan said the first part. Anthony Blinken just uttered the last part. Let's hear it again.
The Middle East region is quieter today than it has been in 2 decades.
I mean, that's just such a nonsensical lie. He knows it's not true, but he says it anyway because he wants it to sound good and he wants it to make the headlines, and it feels good to say it about his guy.
I would argue that we've not seen a situation as dangerous as the one we're facing now across the region since at least 1973.
Since at least 1973. And I actually, for once, agree with Anthony Blinken. And it's this dangerous because of Joe Biden and the Biden administration and their lack of leadership in this regard. We have interest. America has interest in the Middle East. So America ought to have presence in the Middle East. I'm not saying militarily necessarily, but we certainly need to have stability in that region. We need to help those who want stability ensure its stability. How do we do that? We have not been doing it over the past several years, and you see what happens when there is a lack of American leadership in that region of the world. When you free up hundreds of millions, billions of dollars to the bad people wanting to do bad things in the rest of the world, you get the Houthi attacks. You get the Hezbollah attacks. You get the Yemenis attacks. You reap what you sow. And it's not just born of the attacks in Israel, although I believe those were born out of all of this too. And then here we are, spinning our wheels, wondering what to do about it. George might have some ideas in McMinnville. George, thank you for your call. Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, good afternoon, bud. How you doing?
I'm well. George, what's on your mind?
Well, the way Trump handled it, he showed pictures of the person that was responsible's home. Kept showing them pictures. Well, we may have to step it up and blow up a building, like a tool shed or something that's on their property. Not hurting anybody, just blow up their tool shed or whatever. Just to let them know that we're serious about things.
Yeah, just pop one off pretty close to them. Let leadership know that we're watching them.
Exactly. Let them know we know where they're at.
Well, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I don't know if the time has passed necessarily for that. Sadly, if you allow these things to get out of control, sometimes you just have to bomb the whole region. I'm thinking of cockroaches as I say this. I'm using the bug bomb analogy when I say bomb the entire region. I understand that the sheet of glass proposal is out there, and I don't know that that's necessarily a good one. I think that might create some boots on the ground circumstances that we're trying to avoid. I want to avoid foreign entanglements as best we can. I want to avoid going to war and putting American soldiers at risk as best we can. The best way that you do that, I mean, call me naive, call me a Reagan baby, but I do believe in the policy of peace through strength. You fortify, you strengthen, you make sure that you are solidly laser focused and directed as to your objective should you be called to said same, and then you wait. And you suggest to others that we will leave you be so long as you leave us be and you allow for peace, stability, and democracy around other parts of the world, whether you believe in it or not. That's the way that you maintain a certain level of stability. It is not by happenstance that none of this garbage was happening during Donald Trump. Why do you think that is? If you speak to the political left, they would suggest to you that it was just an accident. It was just an accident that Russia attacked Crimea during the Obama administration, and Russia attacked Ukraine during the Biden administration, and Russia attacked nobody during the Trump administration. I suppose it's just circumstantial or happenstance that during the Trump administration, after every president before him in my lifetime suggested that they would have loved to move the United States Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, that they would not do so because it would create a war in the Middle East. Y'all remember that? Man, we'd love to do that, but boy, that would make people angry. Oh, that would get the Muslim Brotherhood on top of us. That would get those that are radicalized in the Muslim faith. They would hate that so much, they would go all over us. And Trump just did it.
And that's what they would say when they were campaigning. And then, or they would say they were going to move it when they were campaigning. Then when they got in office, it's like, oh, we can't do that.
Well, that's very dangerous. And there's a lot of, there's a lot of situational circumstances that you've got to consider that are on the ground and yada, yada, yada. In the meantime, we have new information today from the Deputy Press Secretary, Olivia Dalton, and John Kirby as they gaggled aboard Air Force One today. This just coming out. By the way, who believes that Karine Jean-Pierre is not long? I think she would have already been fired had she not been a diversity hire to begin with. Remember when Joe Biden was so proud of himself for hiring a gay African-American female to be a press secretary? And the media went, oh, it's so great. All I want is somebody to do their job and not lie to me on the regular. Well, apparently she's not doing her job because someone else had to do her job. Maybe she's out for a particular reason. I don't know, but just listen in. It's a little difficult because they're on Air Force One. Listen, as a reporter now asks, is it Joe Biden's position that there's nothing more that he can do with regard to the southern border?
Is it his position then that there's nothing all more that he can do on migration, that this is the limit to his authority?
The president, I think, just a moment ago, that certainly he feels that there are things that are within his power, but there are also things that are not within his power that he's looking for a congressional authority to do in order to step up border security.
Why doesn't he take some of those steps that are within his power? That's what I'm asking. Like, there are some things in his power. Why doesn't he do those?
We're in the middle of negotiating in good faith across the aisle with Democrats and Republicans in the Senate to try and get this proposal done. I'm not going to get into the particulars of those conversations and what is or is not on the table, but look, we think that there's no reason we can't come to a very significant deal here.
So let me explain to you guys what's happening right now on the southern border. And I also have a clip. I intended to go to that one first, and I accidentally went to the border clip. But we can do that. We can transition to the border. They're creating this false dynamic that suggests that if the Republicans would just pass their border deal, everything would be fine, which is garbage. Joe Biden created this because Joe Biden reversed executive order actions and reversed policy in place under the Trump administration. You can solve this by continuing to build the wall that Donald Trump started to build. Stop selling off the materials to build the wall if you haven't already sold it, and continue to build the wall. Stop allowing, and in good faith, allow the Texas National Guard to assist you in preventing illegal border crossings from non-ports of entry. Continue, re-up, and continue the Remain in Mexico policy for those claiming asylum and reject everyone else. And announce to the world that the border is truly and functionally closed to those that are trying to exploit the porous nature of it. That's what you do. And every one of these things can be done by Joe Biden like that today. He doesn't need any sort of approval. He doesn't need Congress to act. The White House, corporate media, and even some on the Republican side of the aisle in the United States Senate are claiming that the only way to do anything about border security is to pass this open border amnesty bill, which is what it is. I've read the synopsis of the thing. It's awful. It would allow for thousands of illegal aliens to flood this country on the daily. It would allow for hear me, this is in the bill, that it would legalize the entry of 1.85 million otherwise illegal aliens into the United States of America annually. And then it would cut it off. Why not cut that figure off at 0 as the American people desire and then figure out immigration policy after we stop the flood? It's not that hard. You walk into your kitchen and water is spewing out of your kitchen faucet. I mean, it's everywhere. Water's on the walls and water's on the floor and water's on the backsplash. Water is going everywhere in your kitchen. Hell, there's 3 inches of water on your kitchen floor. It's getting up to the electrical system. What do? Water is spewing out of that sink and there's 3 inches of water on your floor. Seriously, what do? What is the first thing that you do? You know the answer. You know the answer. Oh, go grab the mop. Start mopping up while the water continues to spew out of the sink. What do? What makes sense to you? We have a mass migration of illegal aliens coming into the United States of America and a president that says that he doesn't have the authority to do anything about it. And when given the opportunity to take advantage of a state of Texas that's willing to help, instead of accepting that help, tipping your cap and saying, thank you so much, Texas, thank you, Greg Abbott, this president chooses foreigners over Americans. Foreigners over Americans. And you know what? You know what's more bothersome? The mainstream media and a third of the country applaud him for it. Applaud him for it. And even more than that, you and I do nothing. Well, we do everything we can, and we will do everything we can. And I'll keep my chin up about it. More on this nonsensical amnesty bill before the United States Congress and how Joe Biden is putting all of his eggs in the basket. They have to get this immigration situation off the table because it is a political killer for Joe because the American people see through the lies of the mainstream media. How do they do that? Well, I know how they're trying to do it. I'll tell you what some of the suckers on the Republican side of things have to say about it after this on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Pardon me, I was listening to some audio that I will present to all of you moments from now, right after Mac Murray's newscast. And Mac Murray's newscast happens right now. One more hour to go. Matt Murphy Show on a Tuesday edition. Almost the final day of January. One more to go. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. One more hour to go right after this on Super Talk. Here's the news.
Two o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 59 degrees, cloudy in Nashville. Full weather forecast coming up in 2 minutes. One lane of Division Street near downtown Nashville has collapsed due to ongoing construction. INDOT says that the roadway is down to one lane right now. Drivers are urged to avoid that area while engineers are en route to the scene. In the nation's capital, House Republicans are signaling they won't support a still unfinished bipartisan immigration deal that senators have been haggling over for weeks. In a press conference today, House Democrats accused them of ignoring their responsibility to reform the nation's immigration system amid an ongoing crisis at the border. Jay O'Brien has the latest.
House Democrats slamming House Republicans for turning against a still unfinished bipartisan immigration deal being haggled over for weeks in the Senate.
In a shameful display of partisanship, they are abdicating their responsibility to solve problems on behalf of the American people.
Democratic Caucus Chair Pete Aguilar there. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson saying what he's heard about the deal still doesn't go far enough.
What's been suggested is in this bill is not enough to secure the border.
And not a good day at UPS. The company announced this morning it'll be cutting 12,000 jobs. CEO Carol Tome says 2023 was a difficult year. Revenue came in $1 billion under expectations, and labor union costs are rising. And record ratings for Sunday's NFL playoff games. Here's Jason Nathanson.
When the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore Sunday on CBS.
And it's caught by Kelsey for the touchdown.
A record number of people were watching, an average audience of 55.47 million viewers, the biggest audience ever for an AFC championship game. The audience for the later game on Fox, in which the San Francisco 49ers beat the Detroit Lions, was even bigger at 56.3 million. Not a record, but the most watched NFC title game since 2012. And it's the first time in 10 years both broadcasts topped 50 million.
And this Super Bowl is estimated to feature record ratings as well. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Gentlemen, if you're losing your hair, let's talk for a moment. I understand that it is a touchy subject for some guys because hair loss is something that you want to believe is not going on, but it is. If you've noticed it in your hairbrush or you've noticed it in the sink or you've noticed it in the mirror, it is time to get with a program that I believe in, that you can believe in. It's called We Grow Hair. They're the only company in the state of Tennessee to have the PAI multi-unit hair grafting procedure. That's a fancy way of saying it works better than any other program in Tennessee. That's just it. It's a trademarked procedure that gives you more hair in one procedure in one sitting than any of these other procedures. That saves you time. It saves you money, and it gets you back to where you want to be with a good full head of hair. It is backed by the only company that I trust to help. As a matter of fact, I'm going. Despite the fact I went, I was examined, I was told that I'm looking good, but that if I wanted to do some laser treatments to make sure that I maintain the hair that I currently have, well, so be it. Well, I have a very lumpy head, people. I mean, it's lumpy, and I don't need to be bald. I've got enough going against me that I need to keep the hair that I have. So I'm going to PAI and to We Grow Hair. Call them today, and you can go and be there with me. 615-376-6010, 376-6010. Your looks are important, folks. First impressions are important. We Grow Hair is right there with you. They're in Nashville, and they're with you before, during, and after your procedure. Check their website, wegrowhair.com. That's wegrowhair.com, or schedule a free private consultation today at 615-376-6010. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. We host a gathering daily from noon until 3. We call it the Matt Murphy Show, conveniently enough, and I'm glad you've decided to join us. Whatever time you give us, I'm very appreciative because your time is valuable. I know that. 615-737-9986. 615-737-WWTN. You can either utilize that number for our phone lines, which are available to you, or as many of you have chosen to do over the last year or so, utilize that for our text feature. The super text line is up and running, 615-737-9986. Okay, so we've been discussing the two central issues of the day. One, what to do about the Middle East. The president seems unawares that he can do anything, sadly. We got that going on. And then the issue on the southern border, and I want to transition fully to that issue. Because Joe Biden, the White House more broadly, sadly, the mainstream media in the United States of America and several Senate Republicans have decided that the only way to handle the border is to offer blanket amnesty to those who have already come into our country and to offer blanket amnesty to many of the future individuals that are coming into our country. This amnesty bill, which does more to secure Ukraine borders than the United States borders, they claim is the only way to successfully curb the influx of some 6 to 8 million illegal aliens. And that is a very conservative number. It is one that it is difficult to comprehend. It's difficult to believe. But some estimates have it that more illegal aliens have entered the United States of America, have been allowed to enter the United States of America under Joe Biden's presidency than there are citizens currently living in the state of Tennessee. One more time, so those of you in the back or in Aniana can understand it. The Biden administration has willfully allowed more illegal aliens to enter this country than there are current people in the state of Tennessee, by most estimates. That's dangerous. It's frightening. What is more frightening is that there are not more individuals that believe that there is, in fact, something that we can do about it. But there is something that we can do about it, and it does not take any action from Congress. The real power to end the border crisis at the southern border lies with one person, President Joe Biden. Joe Biden used his executive authority to undo all of his predecessors' border safeguards. All of them. I'm going to give you the workup of what I'm talking about in just a moment, and you will be shocked when you find out some of this information. Let me just give you the rundown. During the first hours in the White House, in the Oval Office, on January 20th of 2021, Joe Biden halted construction of the border wall, rescinded Donald Trump's executive order refusing federal funding to sanctuary cities, harboring illegal aliens, discouraged the removal of illegal alien border crossers who committed crimes, toppled the Remain in Mexico policy. Biden's one-day proclamations were just the beginning of what would become, listen up now, 296 executive actions on immigration and the southern security boundary in his first year. Thank you to the Federalist for that number. Try to give credit where credit's due. Hat tip to the Federalist. Joe Biden engaged in 296 executive actions regarding immigration and the southern border. Since then, his administration has continued to loosen border enforcement by demanding agents avoid making arrests, telling them to scale back ICE deportation, and reinstating and reinstalling Obama-era catch and release policies. Nearly one-third of Biden's border actions were reversals of Donald Trump's immigration policies. In October of 2023, Joe Biden waived 26 separate federal laws to resume construction of the border wall to comply with the 2019 appropriations bill. In other words, the 2019 appropriations bill was negotiated in such a way where it required border wall construction in order to have the appropriations of the money moving forward. Joe Biden has now waived that requirement. And sadly, unlike Donald Trump, everything that Donald Trump did at the southern border had some sort of court complaint filed against it. Every single one of those things. And every time he tried to secure the southern border, every time Donald Trump tried to do anything with regard to illegal immigration, the Democrats would file a lawsuit. Joe Biden can do anything he wants without a hitch, because the administration in Washington, D.C., the federal bureaucracy in the Washington, D.C. area, the Department of Justice, they like his policies. They hated Donald Trump's. They love his. So suddenly it's not that big of a deal. And it's certainly not a big deal to the mainstream media. Joe Biden was asked about this as he was leaving town today on Air Force One. Before getting on Air Force One, he was preparing to get on Marine One. And he was asked if he could do more on the southern border. Listen to what he says.
Have you done everything you can do with executive authority? Or is there more you could do? Absent done all I can do. Give me the power. I've asked for the very day I got in office. Give me the border patrol. Give me the people. Give me the people, the judges. Give me the people who can stop this.
Give me the people who can stop this and make it work right. He's lying. And the mainstream media knows he's lying. The hashtag #NeverCNNs know he's lying. CBS knows he's lying. ABC knows he's lying. NBC knows he's lying. MSNBC knows he's lying. The New York Times, they know he's lying. The Washington Post, they know he's lying. They know all of these figures that I just gave you. This is not unique information that only Matt Murphy and the Federalist have. 296 separate executive actions making it illegal for illegal aliens to come across our southern border. Not just day one. In the first hours, he stopped construction of the border wall, which needs to resume. He rescinded Donald Trump's executive order, which refused federal funding to sanctuary cities, which needs to be resumed. He discouraged the immediate removal of illegal alien border crossers who committed crimes, which needs to resume. And most importantly, he stopped Remain in Mexico, which has to resume. But John Kirby, coordinator for strategic communication at the National Security Council, says, no. Pay no attention to what you know to be true. Just listen to us and we'll tell you what's true and what's not true. You don't need to worry about any of that. John Kirby wants you to know that all is well, that under this Biden administration that they're doing everything that they possibly can. John Kirby takes this question.
I just want to clarify two of your previous answers in this briefing. Are you suggesting, in response to the border question, that the president is withholding executive action on the border until he gets the money that is part of this supplemental?
No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that the way forward, the proper way forward, is to get this supplemental passed.
What? He's obviously abdicating his duties and responsibility and trying to pass the buck and pass the blame to the Republicans. Is it going to work? Sadly, some so-called Republicans, like Mitt Romney, whom I want to slap in the face, I wouldn't, but I want to. I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. Maybe I would. What would happen to me? What do you think,
You'd
Bill?
get arrested.
Okay, but how bad would it be?
Be pretty bad. He's a sitting senator.
Okay, but if I smacked him one, what could they possibly do? A fine?
Oh, no. You would get jail time.
Like how much?
A year.
A year?
A year.
Okay, that's not worth it. What if you slapped him? Would you get a year?
Nobody knows who I am. They wouldn't care.
There you go. I think you should slap him. I do want to slap him. Mitt Romney falls into this trap all the time. Willingly, because he doesn't really care about conservative values. He cares more about his hatred of Donald Trump than anything else. It is the number one issue facing the United States of America. It is the number one real existential threat here today in 2024. The allowance for untold millions of individuals to invade and flood our country. Once again, no one that I know of is against reasonable and structured immigration policy. The only way to create reasonable and structured immigration policy is to stop the lack of structure. You have to stop the chaos first. You have to turn off the water before you clean the water up. Otherwise, what's the point? Sadly, the Biden administration is getting exactly what they want, and sadly, enough Americans have bought in to this idea that orange man bad, they're going to allow this to happen. I fear what happens if we do not secure the presidency in the next election cycle. Because we've seen 6 to 8 million at least. Some suggest it's more than that. What happens with 4 more years of Democrats controlling or not controlling the southern border? Jeff is in Nashville next. He joins me with a thought on the border crisis. Hello, Jeff. Good afternoon.
Afternoon. I'll smack old Mitt Romney.
I want to. Let's not do it. Let's not do it and say we did.
Okay. Now, if I'm mistaken, when Joe Biden first took office, didn't he have, or Democrats have control of the House and Senate?
Yes.
So if he's been trying ever since he's been elected and just needs the power or whatever, couldn't he have gotten it then, or should have even gotten it then?
You'd think so. He didn't have any trouble. He didn't have any trouble signing 296 executive orders on immigration and the southern security boundary in the first year of his presidency.
I got one more thing. Where was all the federal action during CAS or whatever they called out there in Seattle, wherever it was?
Yeah, Chaz or CHOP. They called it CHOP or Chaz. I know what you're talking about. The autonomous zone out there.
Yeah, federal activity. There wasn't nothing against him, but now they want to take action. Down there on the border against own people.
Well,
so
they're too busy arresting people who were standing around on the National Mall on January 6th to worry about Chaz or CHOP or anything like that, Jeff. Come on, man. They have to have their priorities in order. Donald Trump gets it. Let me tell you something. When it comes to border security, the majority of the American people believe, if not in Donald Trump, they certainly believe in his policy, which is a policy of putting America first when it comes to immigration. And he gets it. Republicans like Senator James Lankford, he doesn't get it. I mean, Lankford demands negotiation, saying it's the only path forward. They want you to believe that the administration is making a good faith effort to fix this in the 11th hour before the election cycle. Can anyone think of a reason why Joe Biden would want to get this issue off his table? He thinks that he has the Republicans caught in a trap, and maybe he does as long as we remain ignorant to their desires, to their ultimate goals, and to what they're trying to accomplish. They feel like if they do this, they can either blame the Republicans for not passing it, and if the Republicans pass something, a bad bill, they can say, okay, mission accomplished. We did something about that. No need to talk about that anymore. And they can get the media off the story altogether. We need to stay on the story. We need to remind the American people that we need to back Texas up in this regard. And they are using the Senate bill, which is awful, as a way of being able to put the border disaster on the shoulders of the Republicans. The Democrats broke the border. They should fix the border. No legislation is needed. It's already there. Now, that last sentence that I just said, that wasn't me. That was Donald Trump on Truth Social. I'll say it again. They're using this horrific Senate bill as a way of being able to put the border disaster onto the shoulders of Republicans. The Democrats broke the border. They should fix it. No legislation is needed. It's already there. 100%. It is 21 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Nashville Safe House. Mark and the Safe House team want you to know that they're there for you for your own personal security when it comes to protecting yourself, protecting your property, and protecting your family. And here's the reality, friends. We live in a very dangerous world, more dangerous than ever before because of the Biden administration and some of their policies. Sadly, that danger has reached our borders. It's reached Middle Tennessee. Protect your valuables, protect your loved ones through your Second Amendment by buying a safe from Nashville Safe House. They have plenty of safes in stock, more safes than you can imagine. They have the right one for you at Nashville Safe House. Secondarily, a qualified professional comes into your home and delivers your safe. Not one of these crackheads who knows where they're from, who knows where they're subcontracted out of, who knows where they come from. Do they speak English? I don't know. I know at Nashville Safe House they do, and they are employees of Nashville Safe House. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com to see the incredible selection, or better yet, go by today. 4th Avenue South in Nashville, across from City Cemetery. Tell them Murphy sent you to Nashville Safe House.
We got a lane of near downtown absolutely collapsed due to some ongoing construction. We'll tell you where. Plus, a drug trafficking bust in the United States. 2:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I feel like we should talk about that now. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Was it a bridge?
226 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I mean, I will say this: best teams ever, because you got the producer of the radio show and the host of the radio show going, "What? Huh?
Seriously,
you guys should look up pictures. It's actually crazy.
You said collapse, so that makes me think of...
No, it looks like a movie. It looks like something out of Batman or something. I don't know. It's very strange. Yeah, I'll just say it. One lane of division.
The Batman building collapsed?
No,
what?
Stop
What?
that. No.
What?
Stop that.
Mac Morey in the newsroom reports. Are you going to make us wait?
One lane of Division Street. It's near downtown. So they're just asking.
Wait, that's right over there.
Yeah. No, you look.
That's right down the street. Holy shnikes. Let's go look. I'm on the app. I'm currently ruining his tease. I'm looking at, it's
oh my God, it looks like a sinkhole next to a construction site.
Yeah, it's not hyperbole. It really did collapse.
Yeah, it fell in because of they obviously didn't have the basement area of that building shored up.
Is this near 12th? Where is this?
I believe so.
On Division Street?
Yes.
I'm looking at Division Street. I think this has got to be near 12th. I'm looking at the red. Okay, more on that coming up in a few moments with Mac Morey's newscast. Never you fear unless you're on Division Street. And if you're on Division Street and you're driving at a fast rate of speed, you might get into a hole somewhere. So might want to slow down and mind your manners. Watch yourselves. In the meantime, Pat is in Clarksville. Pat, thank you for the call. Thank you for the patient. How are you?
Well, I'm just Ducky. How about you?
I'm doing well, Pat. Thank you.
Well, I have a question, not a question, a comment. Why do we need a Congress if the president can essentially run the country by executive order? And about this bill about holding things up at the border, in my opinion, is because the Democrats want the money that they've attached to that. And if they do just the reverse of Trump's bill, they won't get any money. And, they're hooked on money. So nothing's clean and easy with this bunch, I'll tell you. But don't get me going. That's all I have to say.
Well, Pat, I can, if you stay on the line here for a second, I think I can help you with the first question. You say why, and I think it's somewhat of a rhetorical question. Why do we need a Congress if the president can issue executive orders and do all of this? Well, you do need a Congress to authorize funding of some of the executive branch duties with regard to the southern border security. Congress has passed a lot of the funding already in place that the president could utilize. He could redirect some of that money. The 2019 Congressional Authorization Act freed up enough money for Donald Trump to engage in the continued construction of the border wall, and Joe Biden could reverse his elimination of said executive order in order to continue the construction of that border wall. Secondarily, Remain in Mexico was a policy put into place under the Trump administration that worked, that could be redone. We, as a nation, give broad latitude for the executive branch of government to exercise the will of Congress in their own fashion to accomplish the goals set out. So these executive orders are good faith efforts in order to carry out the will of the people, by extension, the will of the Congress or the will of the people. So we give that broad latitude to an executive branch because they've been duly elected as well. So they deserve a certain level of grace with regard to exercising their duty, but they have to be honest actors when they do that. And I don't believe the Biden administration is.
There you go. I agree totally. That's it. Yep.
Thank you, Pat. I appreciate the call very much. Sue, you'll be next up on the border issue. I promised that we will get to the issue of soup on the Mona Lisa, Snoop on Trump. There was one other that I've now forgotten, but I know that Bel K has my back because he promised that he would remember the three issues.
I'll go back and listen to it on
what
the
do you mean
feed.
you go back and listen to it?
I can't remember.
I wrote the two down. I didn't write number three down. I figured Bell had number three. We'll figure it out before the show is done on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
30 minutes after the hour of 2 o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Currently 59 degrees, another mostly cloudy day in Middle Tennessee. We got a weather forecast on the way in 2 minutes. One lane of Division Street near downtown Nashville has collapsed. It's due to ongoing construction. NDOT saying that the roadway is down to one lane currently. Drivers urged to avoid that area while engineers are going to the scene. 12 people are under arrest and 7 more are on the run in a big organized drug trafficking takedown spanning 3 countries. Alex Stone reports from Los Angeles.
It's called Operation Dead Hand, and arrests are still being made. An organized crime group allegedly has been using semi-trucks to move huge amounts of cocaine, meth, and fentanyl from Mexico to Canada, where drugs can sell for 20 times more than in L.A. U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada.
This conspiracy spanned 3 countries. It involved drug suppliers connected to cartels in Mexico.
Huge amounts of pure meth, cocaine, and fentanyl were seized, much of it heading to Canada.
And a cleanup underway after an Amtrak train derailed in rural Colorado between Denver and the Nebraska line. Alex Stone.
When the Amtrak train hit a truck carrying milk in Weld County, Colorado, the train derailed. 69 passengers were on the train. None was seriously injured. 1 engineer and 1 passenger did have minor injuries. The conductor was seriously injured. Heavy equipment has been brought in to help stabilize the Amtrak cars. Other trains have had to stop in Denver and in Lincoln, Nebraska, waiting for it to be cleared.
And that's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
You want comfort when it comes to the heating and air conditioning of your home. Nowadays, this time of year, you think about that heater more than anything. Do you know when it's time to replace your heater? I don't, but I know Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling, and I know that I can trust that he's going to tell me the truth when it comes to the time to replace. And when it's time, they're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric. They're an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. They offer free financing. If you ask them about it, they'll let you know all about that. Plus, they never charge you overtime rates when it comes to your heater going out. Jeff Eddy just doesn't believe in it. I asked him about it early on in our relationship, and he said, a heater doesn't know what time it is, so why should I charge you more if it's 7 o'clock at night versus 4 o'clock in the afternoon? He doesn't. No overtime rates in that regard. That's one way that he gives back to you as a company. Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. The best way to head off costly repairs is to make sure you continue to maintenance that unit, and you do so inexpensively with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. EfficientHVAC.net. That's EfficientHVAC.net. Or call them today at 615-784-4424, 784-4424 for Efficient Heating and Cooling. When it comes to large home repairs, a lot of times homeowners either don't know what's going on or want to pretend like something's not going on when they've seen the warning signs. This is especially true when it comes to your house. And I get it. You don't want to believe that something's going wrong with your house because you're fearful it's going to be a major expense. Well, the bottom line is this. It will not go away on its own, and it will only become more expensive as time goes on. You need peace of mind. You need United Structural Systems. They are the company that give you peace of mind. Over 25,000 people rate them 100% satisfaction guaranteed. These are residential customers that have used USS over the last 30 years and believe in the company and the way they do their business. When USS comes to your house, they are problem solvers. They don't look for problems, but they find them. And when they do find them, they solve them as inexpensively as possible, whether it's foundation repair, waterproofing, or the poly-level lift system. Homeowners simply trust USS. They've been keeping homes stable and dry since 1994. They guarantee their best at USS. So Middle Tennessee, listen up. Southern Kentucky, Northern Alabama, they're here for you as well. USSTN.com is the website, USSTN.com, or call. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you, 615-488-7855, 488-7855 for USS, United Structural Systems. Yeah, Joe Biden says he's doing all he can do on the southern border, and there's just nothing more than he can possibly do. 238 Super Talk, 238, pardon me, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Amelia Earhart.
That was number 3. Yeah, good for you, Bell. I had every bit of faith in you. Have you seen this story about Amelia Earhart's airplane?
I saw the headline, but I didn't get a chance to read it.
So Amelia Earhart, it's a long-standing mystery, particular to aviation, but more broadly, people are, curious about what in the world happened to Amelia Earhart. Now, Amelia Earhart was almost a foundational staple of the myth or conspiracy of the Bermuda Triangle. I've read plenty on the issue of the Bermuda Triangle, and I'm here to tell you, believe what you want to believe, but I'm just here to tell you that has never been any greater loss of life or loss of property, whether it's boats or airplanes, in that part of the world than any other populated part of the world. It is simply that it is near to the United States of America, and it is a well-traveled area between the Bahamas, I think the Virgin Islands, and the Florida Keys, Miami, I guess it is, that we've noticed it more. And it became a part of Americana and folklore within the United States of America. That said, Amelia Earhart was America's darling. She was a pilot. Well accomplished. Most of you know her backstory, that she was an explorer who embarked on an around-the-world flight in 1937, and her plane vanished and has never been found again. This has led to many, many, many different conspiracy theories as to what exactly happened to Amelia Earhart. Amelia Earhart and navigator Fred Noonan took off from Papua New Guinea, nearing the end of their record-setting journey around the world, and they would never be seen again until possibly this week. A pilot and explorer who embarked on an $11 million sea expedition believes that he has now solved really one of the greatest modern mysteries of the world. What happened to Amelia Earhart? Most reasonable people do not believe. Have you heard the theory? There's a theory that she got to an uninhabited island and she lived the rest of her days on the island with her pilot. There are a few photographs circulating around the internet purportedly showing Amelia Earhart like 3 or 4 years after her plane went down, in tattered rags on some island somewhere. But there has always been a great deal of interest as to what happened. Well, a team of explorers is now suggesting that they have sonar data caught by an underwater drone from one of the research voyages, and that it has demonstrated photographic evidence of the possibility of her twin-engine Lockheed 10E Electra. This is coming from, and I'm trying to find the name of the guy. I pulled the story up, and I can't find his name now. His last name's Romeo. A pilot. This is an awfully written story, and I apologize. It's from NBC News. I should have pulled up a different one. A pilot and explorer who embarked on an $11 million expedition at sea believes he has solved one of the greatest world mysteries, the final resting place of Amelia Earhart's plane that vanished in 1937. His team reviewed sonar data in December, caught by an underwater drone from his research voyage, and found a startling image, a blurry, plane-like shape Romeo believes is Earhart's twin-engine Lockheed 10E Electra. That's the only identifier that they have in the story about the guy.
None of this is true.
What do you mean none of this is true?
None of this. She survived that crash. We know because she was piloting Malaysia 370.
Is that the one that Don Lemon said was taken up by a black hole?
Yeah. It just vanished.
July 2nd, 1937 was when she vanished, and Deep Sea Vision has found what appears to be a plane-like structure on the floor. It is very, very blurry. What they do in these circumstances, they have these trolls that troll the seabed, and they use sonar to cast to the seabed, and then they don't really process the data until much, much later. They do the trolling first. They do the processing. So they know where this image is. They just have to go back out to the sea, find it again, and then go down there and see what the hell it is. Does it look like an airplane? It could be an airplane.
Does it say what the depth of water is?
It is deep. It's pretty deep. I have to get to a better story. I was not prepared. I thought you would ask for the Snoop story first, so I had pulled that up. So I'll, let's see, Amelia Earhart plane found. There we go. It's a deep sea sonar image that was found at a depth of, well, it's been 87 years. This guy, by the way, he quit his job. It was found at 16,000 feet, Bell.
Need to get one of those Titan submersibles and go down there and check it out.
You're just, you know, I said to Dan Mandis at the beginning of this relationship, I said, I don't think this is going to work. And Dan said, well, why in the world do you feel that way? And I said, because he's more of an SOB than I am.
It's just not true.
It is true.
It is not true.
You just suggested that we take a Titan submersible down there.
And?
I only think they have the one now.
So that means they don't have any?
This is a company based out of South Carolina. And they say that they may have found something at 16,000 feet. That's 4,877 meters underwater that resembles a small aircraft. The team, using the sonar imaging, believes that the anomaly could be a Lockheed 10E Electra, the 10-passenger plane that Earhart was piloting when she went missing while attempting to fly solo around the world. Well, she was not solo, I'm sorry, around the world with her navigator. The company, Deep Sea Vision, announced the find through Instagram January 27th, a few days ago. The CEO's name is Tony Romeo. Thank you, #NeverCNN, for doing that which NBC could not, giving me the dude's first name. Some people call it one of the greatest mysteries of all time. I think actually it's the greatest mystery of all time, said the company's CEO, who is a pilot and former U.S. Air Force intelligence officer. We have the opportunity to bring closure to one of the greatest American stories ever told. The imagery was taken roughly 100 miles away from Howland Island, the next spot where Amelia Earhart and navigator Fred Noonan were expected to land. Did you know how they did this? I did a little research this weekend when I was finding out some of this story. like Howland Island was uninhabited. They went out to Howland Island and built a landing spot for her.
Yeah, I did know that.
Well, she never arrived at the landing spot.
They had imported fuel for her to refuel there and everything, right?
They specifically built a place for her to land on Howland Island so that she could land there, refuel there. Otherwise, she would have, dumped in sea. Deep Sea Vision scanned more than 13,000 square kilometers, 5,200 square miles of the ocean floor using an advanced autonomous underwater vehicle known as the Hugin 6000. Hugging the seafloor, which maps the seabed using sonar technology. The company's expedition began in early September of 2023 and ended in December. Romeo says he hopes to return to the site within the year to get confirmation that the anomaly is a plane, which will most likely involve the use of a Titan submersible. No, I'm just kidding. Just wanted to.
Yeah, I'm the worst. I'm the worst.
I did that for you. It would most likely involve the use of an ROV. You know what that stands for? Remotely operated vehicle with a camera that would allow the object to be investigated more closely. The team would also look into the possibility of bringing their find to the surface, according to Romeo. Quote, while it's possible this could be a plane and maybe even Amelia's plane, it is too premature to say anything definitively. It could also just be noise in the sonar data, something geologic, or some other plane. It vaguely, I don't know if you've seen the image yet. It vaguely looks like a plane.
Yeah, it does, but there's nothing that suggests it could not be geological. But wasn't that overflown a lot during World War II?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because if it was, that
it could be a lot of.
Yeah, it could be a lot of planes.
There was the I did a deep dive on years and years ago. I did a deep dive on the Bermuda Triangle because I went into it thinking that there was something to it. I'm enough of a pragmatist. Look, call me what you will. I'm pragmatist enough or naive enough to actually believe that we did land on the moon. I mean, but that's just me. I'm just spitballing here. Snoop Dogg conversation next on Super Talk. 56 after the hour, wrapping up our portion of the day, about to welcome in Brian Wilson. A quick note before we do. No, I don't know of anything that the Bermuda Triangle has to do with Howland Island, by the way. I know I conflated the two issues, and I apologize sincerely for that. I did not intend to do so. I know, believe it or not, I know that Howland Island was in the Pacific Ocean and that the Bermuda Triangle is off the coast of Miami. It's the Miami to Bermuda to what, the Virgin Islands or something like that. So my apologies for that. Belle, did you have an apology to make as well?
No.
Okay, I was just wondering.
You think she had the Lindbergh baby on that plane?
I'm just generally sorry.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, guys.
How's it going, man?
It's going all right. We're just getting ready for a little 4-hour extravaganza.
That's funny. That's funny. You said what I feel most days.
No, listen, I'm married. I understand that sometimes, even if you don't really know what you're saying you're sorry for, you just say you're sorry.
That's exactly. I discovered my grandfather told me years and years ago when I was just a wee lad in my teenage years. He said, "You'll find out one of these days that there aren't a hell of a lot of hills worth dying on."
My go-to line for many years was, I always get the last word in our relationship, and the last words are "yes, dear." But if you know Cabana Wife, you know that when you have a conversation with Cabana Wife, and you've messed up, it's just better to say, "I'm sorry, yes, dear."
Mm-hmm. That's right. Well, no, look, E presents a good game. She seems as darling and as just kind.
No, I can see that in her.
But let me tell you something. Cross that woman and she'll get, as you like to say sometimes, Brian, my wife will get the long knives out after me. She'll come after me. What's going on the drive this afternoon?
Well, the border situation, there was a big hearing on Capitol Hill today to forward some impeachment articles against Alejandro Mayorkas. And, of course, the whole situation in the Mideast is a tinderbox. I mean, it's interesting when you hear Antony Blinken say it's more dangerous now in the Middle East than it's been any time since 1973. And he's right. But whose fault is that? And we're going to get into some of that. So it's all straight ahead after the news right here on Super Talk 99.7.
There's Brian Wilson, and we'll be listening and we'll be watching if you so desire on Super Talk TV. I'm back tomorrow at high noon, and so we welcome you to join us then. Hope you have a good afternoon. Hope you have a wonderful time. Listen to Brian Wilson and The Drive, and we'll see you tomorrow, folks. Hug your loved ones. So long.